Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? I'm trying to be quiet here, so I won't be heard by others. I can't find a way to make that rhyme if I tried. Hey, it's a new year. It is 2020, and I'm here in my room, and I know I don't really film in here a lot because it looks like the house from Grey Gardens. So this vlog I wanted to make just to say Happy New Year, and that I promise I will upload more. I think that's my New Year's resolution. I didn't really make any, but I think the one that I make is, besides to sell my show, is, and to publish more, is to stop neglecting this poor little channel. But the main reason why I want to make this vlog today was to talk about something in the writing community that has been trending on Twitter, and it's something that's kind of boggling my mind a little bit, and I wonder if any of you writers out there have been thinking about it too. But the poet of the decade, the last decade, meaning the 2010s, has been named. Do you have any idea who it is? Wait, hang on, here's a hint. The poet of the last decade has been named. Do you know who it is? Let's see. Oh, of course! I can't really say I'm shocked. I mean, I know that Rupi Kaur's poetry has been getting a lot of press and a lot of good success, and but at the same time, I kind of am mostly disappointed. I am disappointed in her, but I'm a little more disappointed at the universe and people in general. First, let me say why I'm disappointed in Rupi Kaur herself. I've been hearing that she plagiarized a lot of her poetry from a different poet called, I believe her name is Nayyirah Waheed. I don't know if I'm saying that right. If I'm not, please roast me in the comments, and I will totally apologize because I know the pain of having a foreign name that gets chopped up and macheted and massacred to bits all the time. Sometimes you wanna go where everyone fucks up your name, ba 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 ba, and they're always glad you came, ba ba ba. Nobody's ever glad I came to anything. Oh, I think I just broke my no cursing rule. Sorry kids. I have read a little bit of Waheed's poetry, and I gotta say, the style is very similar to Rupi Kaur. Like, the way she literally formats it, like, I put one word here, and that is how I do it. But the thing is, what I've read of Waheed's poetry is actually, like, it actually sounds like a poem. Like, the thing about Rupi Kaur is it just seems like she's putting nice words on a paper. Oh my god. No, I'm having Vietnam flashbacks to AP English senior year of high school, where we had this huge debate over what is a poem. And, like, I think this one girl was saying, like, yeah, anything is a poem. Like, even pizza can be a poem. It's like, no. I mean, I'm sure she was exaggerating her point, but I mean, that's the thing. Anything is just not a poem to me. To me, a poem has to do something with language and form, and it doesn't have to rhyme, it doesn't have to follow stanzas necessarily or whatever. It has to invoke some imagery. Like, there's a reason why, if you read a, like, I don't know, to people who are in that camp, the end of everything's a poem camp, I ask you, like, if you look at an instruction manual, like, is that a poem to you? Step 1, put the wheels inside the axles for the model car. Rupi Kaur. Car. No. Just no. Like, it had potential, and it just veered into a ditch. But if the plagiarism rumors are true... Hang on, it's my brother coming up the stairs. He makes a lot of happy noises like that, because he's autistic, but I think he's just cheering that I'm not in the same room with him. I love the kid to death. He's a great kid. He's really happy right now, which is good. I mean, why do people do that? Like, even... I want to understand how that makes you feel as an author. Like, the fact that you know you have to plagiarize in order to get success because you can't write something on your own. Like, doesn't that just make you feel pretty crappy about yourself? I mean, and here I am. Now I feel slightly silly for being down on myself all the time. Because even though I'm a virtual nobody and I'm probably clinically depressed and I work multiple jobs, one of which is an after-school program where I literally, the stuff I deal with on a daily basis, I never thought I would have to say in a professional setting, "Excuse me, please keep your shirt on in the cafeteria. Please don't put scotch tape on your best friend's butt crack. That's really not a good use of the tape, honey. No, please don't lick the marker. Are you, no, excuse me, we don't use the markers on our knees. We don't draw fake scars on our knees with the markers. Go wash that off in the bathroom." Do you think Rupi Kaur has to say that in a professional setting? No, because she's making millions writing like this. I'm also bothered by the people who are defending her. No, not so much people who are defending her, but people who are fighting back at the criticism of her, because a lot of the criticism of her work is pretty valid. Saying like, oh, it's almost too accessible, it comes off as just nice words put together rather than an actual poem, or that it's she's oversimplifying the topics she talks about in order to cater to a certain audience, And those are all very valid criticisms to say. You might agree, you might not. I do agree with some of them, but the people who are defending it on Twitter and saying like, oh, you know, anybody who criticizes her just doesn't like women's writing and they like to say bad things about women writers and they don't like women writers and you're just classist because she writes accessible poetry for the everyman and so that this is the part I really think is funny, how she writes poetry for like the working class person and the most basic layman who might not understand. Wait, it's just that insinuation that somebody who was born into a poor family or who grew up poor would not be smart enough to understand something that was more advanced than Rupi Kaur, and that's why she writes for them. That's pretty offensive to say. Because, like, what is it? You think that a poor person can't understand anything that's more advanced than, "You broke my heart, and then I cried. Dash, Rupi Kaur." Go look at some of the best poets and authors, you know, who have come out of poverty. And I mean, like someone like Jim Carroll. You know, that man was not born with a silver spoon in his mouth. I mean, why do you think he was getting into cocaine and all this other bad stuff at like 14, 15 years old? I mean, have you read some of his poetry from when he was 16? Like, yeah, I mean, go read that and then go tell me that a working class person, you know, has to settle for the most basic type of art. And then the whole thing of, oh, if you don't like Rupi Kaur's poetry, you must not like anything by women. I am a woman, I think. There's a lot of people like that on the internet, and I'm sure some of them are gonna roast me in the comments right now. If you don't like this video, you don't like anything made by women. Triggered! Your own logic just backfired against you, bud. And then there are people who also say like, oh, art doesn't have to be like intellectual to be good. And like, yeah, they're right. The thing that I always believe is that a good piece of art, whether it be a short story or a poem or a film or something, is that it should challenge you, right? You know, the moment that I know I have been exposed to a truly good piece of art is when it makes me step back in awe and say, I could have never created something like that. Like, I've read stories that have made me feel depressed for days. Not because the subject matter was depressing, but because it was so good that it made me think, I could have never done something like that. And I will never make something like that. But I'm going to try to make something like that. When I read a Rupi Kaur poem, I look at it, and I don't feel challenged, I don't feel inspired, I don't feel the need to write. Because there's nothing to aspire to, in my opinion. I look at it and I say, oh, I could have done that. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying I could have done it. And why do I want to be shown something I already know? You know, I want to see stuff that inspires me to reach new heights, or something that at least has a new idea or tells me something I've never heard before. And unfortunately, I don't really get that out of her work, and you might. And that's great if you do. What do you guys think of the whole Rupi Kaur thing? Do you think she deserves to be crowned Poet of the Decade? Do you feel differently? Please talk in the comments below.
See you next time. Rupi Kaur, plagiarized by me.